When you look through the history books and search for the greatest players of all time, you'll probably come across the same names, like Cruyff, Pele and Maradona. However, there are a few other footballing greats that are often forgotten. One of them is our subject today. He was able to run 100 meters in just 11 seconds, both with and without the ball. Part of the Madrid Trident with Stéfano and Puskas, he surpassed all his rivals and became the footballer with the most European Cups and Spanish titles in history. Today, we'll talk about the true Mr. Champions League, Francisco Paco Gento. Most, if not all of today's top players were practically born on a football pitch.
Yeah.
They go through footballing academies for years, before even making it professional. However, this wasn't the case with Gento. He began his sporting career by participating in track and field because of his natural power and speed. This experience would ultimately come in very handy, as it helped him cultivate the pace that would make him famous in the future. At this point in his life, he even quit school, in order to help his father in the farm they owned. But as he got older, he wanted something more. His first chance to prove himself came in 1948, when he was already 15 years old. He joined his local club Nueva Montaña in order to fulfill his dream of becoming a professional footballer. From this point onward, his rise can only be described as meteoric. Just 3 years after starting his career, he joined Rayo Cantabria, which served as a daughter club to Racing Santander, a team that played in La Liga. A year later, at just 18 years old, he joined Racing and was able to get his first taste of the Spanish First Division. He mostly played for the second team. Luckily, for him at least, some injuries gave him the chance to prove himself for the first team ahead of a game against Real Madrid. Apparently, his performance in that game was so good, Madrid immediately wanted to sign him, and so he joined the club in 1953. He wouldn't be a bench warmer either, as he played a full 90 minutes in over half the games. This means that he went from playing for his local team to becoming a star at Real Madrid in just 5 years. His first season at the Spanish giant wasn't without criticism though, as he failed to score even a single goal in 17 appearances. This time wasn't easy for the 20-year-old. He later said in an interview that he lost sleep over the criticism. They even joked that he ran so fast he forgot to take the ball with him. His nickname, the Gale of the Cantabrian Sea, was given to him because of that speed, but his technique and finesse was still lacking. Understandable for a player that only really started playing football 5 years prior. Just as doubt was starting to loom over Gento, his legendary teammate Di Stefano convinced then president Santiago Bernabeu by saying, "He's quick and hits the ball like a cannon. That can be learned. It's innate. We can teach him the rest." Only time would tell if Di Stefano was right. With pressure mounting on Gento, he just had to deliver. During the 1955-1956 season, French football magazine L'Équipe hosted the first ever edition of the European Cup. The participating teams were selected based on sporting merit and prestige. Needless to say, Real Madrid was part of the selection. They faced Swiss club Servette in the first round and beat them comfortably in a 7-0 scoreline over 2 legs. In the second round, they played Yugoslavian club Partizan, who they also comfortably beat 4-0 at home, with the third goal being scored by Gento. The return fixture almost saw Partizan make an insane comeback, but they ultimately came 1 goal short, placing the aggregate score at 4-3. When they advanced to the semi-finals, Madrid would face fellow European giants AC Milan, who they beat in a difficult 2 games that ended in a 5-4 aggregate score in favor of Los Blancos. Finally, they reached the final against French club Stade Reims, which was once again a very tight and difficult fixture. But the end result was yet again in favor of Madrid. Gento was able to lift his first ever European Cup together with his teammates. They really acquired an appetite for European success, which they demonstrated the following years. Unfortunately, they only finished 3rd in La Liga, 10 points behind Atletico Bilbao, who also won the Spanish Cup. The season after, they would recover and win the title ahead of Sevilla. This was their second La Liga title after ending a 21-year drought in 1954. On top of this, they reached the final of the European Cup after a semi-final victory over Manchester United, after which they went on to beat Fiorentina 2-0 in the final, with Gento even scoring a goal. This marked their second European Cup trophy in a row. The 3rd edition of the European Cup would yet again be won by Madrid, after beating AC Milan in the final with a score of 3-2. This game was very close, as it was a 2-2 draw at full time. Luckily for Madrid, Gento managed to score the winner in the 107th minute. That led to Madrid being able to lift their 3rd European Cup in a row. They also went back-to-back in La Liga, with a 3-point lead over city rivals Atletico. Domestically, Gento also scored some really important goals, like a brace in a 2-1 victory over Las Palmas. The next season would yet again result in a European Cup final for Madrid, after beating their rivals Atletico in a playoff game, in order to settle the semi-final score. They then went on to beat Reims for the second time in the final, with a score of 2-0.
Man, the first time was so nice, I had to do it twice.
The 5th edition of the European Cup would, in a crazy twist of events, be won by Madrid. I promise this is the last one. Gento scored in a surprising 6-2 aggregate win over their La Liga rivals Barcelona, who actually ended up winning the league with equal points because their head-to-head score was better. After a comfortable semi-final win, Madrid beat Eintracht Frankfurt in an even more crazy 7-3 win. Puskas scored an insane 4 goals, while Di Stefano bagged a hat-trick. It's crazy to me that 10 goals were scored in this game. In recent finals, we keep getting 1-goal wins. To summarize, Gento won an insane 5 European Cups in a row, all while scoring 8 goals. 2 of those goals were in finals. This might not seem all that impressive by today's standards, with players like Haaland, but keep in mind that Gento played as a left winger and was mainly known for his playmaking abilities. He also had 2 goal-scoring machines in Di Stefano and Puskas to compete with. Anyways, he also won 2 La Liga titles during that time, while scoring 42 goals. It didn't stop with the 4 La Liga titles he had up to that point, because in the following years he won an additional 8 titles, bringing the total to an insane 12 La Liga titles. This makes him the player with the most La Liga titles in history, ahead of even Lionel Messi and fellow Madrid player Piri, who both have 10. During the 1960s, Madrid lost 2 unfortunate finals against Benfica and Inter Milan in 1962 and 1964 respectively. That painful defeat in Vienna meant the departure of leading figure Di Stefano and the beginning of a new era at the club. It was now up to Gento to partially fill those big shoes, and that's exactly what he did. He would captain the Madrid team known as Yeye, a name given to them as a reference to the famous Beatles, after a few of their players posed for a magazine impersonating the band. Remember when I said the 5th European Cup was the final one? Well, I lied. During the 1965-1966 season, Gento would once again find European success after beating Yugoslavian club Partizan in the final. They came back from a 1-goal deficit and ended up winning 2-1. This marked the 6th and final win for Gento in the European Cup. All in all, he appeared in 8 European Cup finals, which means he has a 6-2 record. Not bad if you ask me. Combined with his 12 La Liga titles and various other trophies, his trophy count for Madrid reached a grand total of 23. He held this record alone all the way until 2022, when it was equaled by Marcelo. Although not as impressive as his club career, Gento's time in Spain was still very interesting. The Spain team that he was a part of won the 1964 European Championship. However, he only played in the qualifying games and was dropped for the final phases because of disagreements with the manager. This means that he technically doesn't lay claim on the trophy, but he did participate in the qualifying matches, so make of that what you will. It's best I don't talk about the World Cup. Let's just say it was Spain, but the S is silent. After he retired in 1971, he became a coach for various lower league teams, such as Castilla, Castellón, Palencia and Granada. Notably, he promoted Palencia to the 2nd division in the 1978-1979 season, for the first time in their history. After his managerial career, he took up a role as ambassador for Real Madrid, together with Di Stefano. After Di Stefano passed away in 2014, he even became honorary president of the club. His career was nothing short of amazing, especially at club level. He wore the white shirt a total of 600 times, achieving 181 goals, and some unprecedented records. That includes 6 European Cups, 12 La Liga titles and various individual awards, like being named the best Spanish footballer of the 20th century. He sadly passed away in 2022. However, his legacy lives on in not only the hearts of Madrid fans, but also in his grandnephew Marcos Llorente, who's currently also playing for Madrid, albeit the wrong one. He didn't need or want to be in the spotlight, and yet he still became one of the best players this world has ever seen, and will forever be remembered as one of the core pillars that made Madrid into the club they are today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out this video about fellow 1960s legend George Best.